Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Hi, Delaney. I greet you all with love and honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you will learn to accept and receive and share the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And I hope that wherever you are, that things are as good or as well as they can be under the circumstances. And remember that we always have a choice. And so I what it may seem at times that we don't have a choice, but we actually have infinite number of choices. So if you feel that you're boxed in, um, maybe it's time to go on a quest. Now, the title of this particular video, A Quest for Your Quest. And this thing's been running around in my head like other things for the last couple of weeks. And of course, we're always discussing, searching, or seeking the right path, the right energy, the right thing, the right this or that. And so there are many different ways to get there. Now, I've done um, readings of the Bible and other things, and Spirit kind of bounced me around, well, yesterday and today. And it's like, there are many paths to harmony. There are many ways to gain balance or to gain balance, to get your balance back if you're out of balance, but to gain it. And as a Libra on the Virgo side, I'm born on the cusp. I have, those Virgo tendencies that want to, and Libra and Virgos don't really get along. Me and my pops used to go be at odds with each other. And, he was born on the 19th of September and I'm on the 24th. But, it took me a long time to realize, wait a minute, we're talking about the same thing, but it was his point of view and my point of view. And he was so strong-minded that he wanted to make sure he got his point across, and I had to make sure that I had to get my point across. And we butted heads when there really wasn't any reason to. And after a while, as I started seeing my path being changed by the knowledge that I was gaining and seeking by going to powwows and speaking with folks and etc., that I realized, oh my God, there's just no need. So anytime after I learned this thing, and the first thing is awareness. So when it seemed like we were going to be at odds with one another, regardless of what it was, I mean, is the sun shining? Well, it's partly cloudy. Well, okay, yeah, but it's mostly sunny, ain't it? No, it's partly cloudy. Tomato, tomato, potato, potato. I mean, it got really weird at times, and it was just like, hang on. Okay, so it's potato. Who cares? Well, no, it's pronounced. Well, you can pronounce it any dadgum way you want to, and after a while, the tension just dropped between us. And anytime and he would, I never really talked to him about it, but by interacting with Pops, he realized that, well, there's one of the, I'd say, well, you know what, Pops, there's no sense in arguing about this, but, I think we're more alike than not. And he would stop himself then and go, well, Dave, I think sometimes, we're probably more alike. And so it taught us both at the same time. But anyway, so, and him being a Catholic and so forth. But so these are some of the books that I just wanted to show you, because on your quest for knowledge, I would suggest that you vary your reading. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. There's a book it's called Spirit Medicine. Okay. And I got to put my glasses, I can't see it. It's Sterling Publishing, New York. This one was $12.95 US. There's an ISB number on it. Wolf Moondance is who wrote this. And this book, I've had this book for 20 years, at least. So it's 1995. I think I bought this back about 98, 99, somewhere in there. But anyway, so I'm going to be doing a couple of things out of this spirit medicine book. Here's a book that I got way back when. Let's see what the date is on this one. It's called The Crystal Handbook. Put Crystal Consciousness to Work by Kevin Sullivan. Hey, Cherry, Julianne, and Delaney, hi. So this book, it was $3.95 back in the day. It's just a paperback. And wow, that print's really small. First printing was December 1987. And this book has been around for a long time. And it's a reference book I've noticed over the years by public, and I have several books on crystals, all right? And some of them agree about, I don't know, bloodstone, and then others don't. And some will say, well, Apache tear does this, and this does that. And, so it's like, and then there are Native Americans that go, well, there's a little truth in both of them, but it's actually this third thing. So anyway, this is a book that I have had for a long time, and the mice ate the top of the book. A doggone it, but it's called Zolar's Ancient Mystical Prophecies. And there's just interesting stuff in here. It talks, there's clover, sage, what some of the mandrake, hazel, bean, basil, ancient mystical. There's a. It talks about different herbs. There are cures in here. 4th century cure for warts. For relief of a cold. Bohemian cure for fever. Now, and what this is this is something that's just, it's an old book. I mean, it's like really falling apart. 1971, and I've had it for a long time. And the thing is that these are all reference books. You can say, well, and so I've looked at some of the things in the mystical prophecies, and it's a good thing I pulled this off the shelf because there's a lot of stuff about medicinals in here, and this actually needs to be in another section. And then there's a book I have here on Zen Buddhism. Okay. And there are things, and it's by D.T. Suzuki, forward by Carl Jung. So this is, it's an introduction to Zen Buddhism. And the thing in here is, if you're trying to understand life and spirit and things, then what we need to do is look down different paths. Not necessarily paths we should go down, but we should stop at the crossroads and go, wonder what's over there. And it may be that that road, for example, of Zen Buddhism, touches you just right. It may be hits you in such a way that it resonates with you, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't have anything picked out in particular. So this session tonight is about the quest, for your quest, my quest, our quest. I was going to put our quest in there, but I was like, well, not everybody's seeking. But the idea, there's the quest, all these shows, science fiction and fantasy shows and things, the quest for the Holy Grail, the quest for blah, blah, blah. So the tongue-in-cheek quest for the quest is sort of serious in the sense that life is a journey in and of itself. So we could say that our life is the quest for knowledge, or our quest just to make it through and get to the other end with as few bumps and bruises as possible, right? So, but there are those of us that it's just inbred in us for some other type of adventure. For me, I go down the river. I've been, when I was more able, I was mountain climbing and up in the mountains and rocks and tunnels. I've been in caves. I've just done all kinds of stuff. Now that I'm older, I have to be a little bit more reserved, but there are still adventures to be had. And it's the quest of enjoyment, the quest for value to life, the quest for self fulfillment. And I mean, the older I get, I realize, I used to think that going down on the river was like, well, I'm wasting time. Or, I love it down here. I could just stay for a whole day. And sometimes I got I think it was 6 years ago that I got stuck down on the river around this time of the year. A couple of, well, 3 weeks ago would have been 6 years. But anyway, so I spent 3 days on the river that I was not planning for. And each time it comes around, it makes me think, so much could have happened in those 3 days. So much could have transpired or whatever. But I kept remembering that it was my faith that kept me going. My faith that no matter how hot it was or whatever, I was going to make it through. Now I didn't know how. And one of the tricks of this journey of life is to sometimes you just have to let it happen. But I don't know how I'm going to do this. Sometimes you just got to go, and let it go by. I mean, the answer isn't available right away. And as humans, we are on this time thing to where, well, it's about time, isn't it? It's taking too long. Well, for me, it was like for 3 days, and in a way, it feels like an eternity. But in other ways, it only felt like just a snap in time, which in reality, it was just a snap in time. Anyway, but for each of us, we have to seek we have our quest for knowledge, our quest for wisdom, our quest from understanding from the universe. You know what I mean? But we're searching for the quest. Well, our life is the quest. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, a little trick on that, but wait a minute, life is a quest. So our quest for knowledge is, but we're still searching. You know what I mean? Anyway. So with that thought, I was like, well, so there are so many different people who have been brought up in so many different ways that it's like, you know, I was growed up Catholic down in the South, but it ain't the same as folks who grew up Catholic in the Bronx, okay? Because I know folks. And um, so be, simply because you were raised a Catholic, it depends on where you were. If you lived in Europe and was raised a Catholic, or you lived in California and was raised a Catholic. So being raised Catholic was just, there is some really strange energy floating around in here tonight. If y'all see any things flying by, will you let me know? And sort of timestamp it, like it's 15 minutes in. So anyway, let me say hi to everybody. Mr. Mensa, hi, how are you? Truth to me, howdy, howdy, howdy all. Cosmic Hugs, Mr. Mensa, Teresa, always. Yeah. You see, attached. Yep. It just seems like there's stuff floating around in here. Earlier, it was all I could do to stay awake. And I'm like, it was fairly nice outside today, and we had some showers and kept the temperature down, and and so it's like, but man, my energy level was just like, come on now, I got, went out and fed the cats and did a couple of small things, but in general, it's been pretty much a. I use the rain showers as an excuse, which is true. You go outside. I've been working on the foundation out on the front of the house for the porch. And when it rains, the foundation fills up and what I'm working on. So I've been doing some leveling, whatever, and I just restricted myself to doing some of that versus, mixing concrete, which if we'd had a rain shower would really screw up my concrete work. Anyway, but in my meditation today, full moon in Pisces, David. Yeah, I'm looking out the window right now, and I have to lean down. And the other night I could see it without leaning down. So, as a little quick update in the middle of this, I've been keeping an eye on the Earth wobble thing, and it has slowed down because 6 months ago, full moon would have meant that the moon should be over the top of the house. And if you remember some of my older videos back then, if you listened in, I was like, okay, the moon's straight overhead. I think I even walked outside one night and said, there's the moon. I have to walk out from my eave. And then 2 weeks later, it was way down in the sky. Well, for the last 2 weeks, in between the clouds, but I could still see the moon through the clouds at night. Its position from where I stand at my back porch, and I hold up my hand. And so if the trees are standing here, then I put my hand here or use my thumb or finger or whatever to gauge how far the moon is or where Jupiter and Saturn are right now. So I try to go out the same times for the same observation. You hold your hand out, and well, you can't really see that. You hold your hand out in front of you. How do I do this? In front of you. You hold it out in front of you at arm's length. And so, but you can gauge where the moon and things. So it's an easy thing to do. And when you practice it and you go, well, wait a minute, 2 days ago, the moon was right here on this finger. And now I got to add a finger. It's up here. Well, so that means somebody's moving and wiggling. Well, the moon's been really stable. It's been more low in the sky than it has been have to go out and look up. So in a 2 week period, 6 months ago, it would take 2 weeks to go from where it is now to straight overhead. So new moon to 2 weeks to full moon, then it would be overhead, and then by new moon again, we'd be rolled back down. It's been within one finger for the last 2 weeks, and the moon is almost full, and I can still see it out this window without having to go outside. So the Earth wobble, now the moon could have settled down too now, mind you, but the Earth wobble has decreased the last 6 months. But in these last 2 weeks, I've noticed now we're going into fall. So maybe it's where we're at every fall or winter, and summertime it calms down. Don't know. That's the reason for the observations. But anyway, I thought I would just kind of toss that in for the moment. I'm going to pick a couple of cards, but I wanted to go through. I'm just sort of like, I've got this other book here called Animal Speaks, and there's by Ted Andrews. I've talked about this one before, and there's a lot of more stuff in here other than just the animals. There are symbolic qualities of trees, symbolic qualities of flowers, colors, positive qualities, negative qualities. It speaks about reading animal signs, superstitions. But what I really thought would be interesting, though, is sort of let my mind wander. And one of the first places it went, and in trying to understand, you know, we want to find peace or tranquility or something. And so one of the things that, in order to do it, it helps some people's and it doesn't really help other people. So, and one of the things that I learned from a shaman years ago, who was in the hospital for, I think, kidney stones or something, but he had to go in, and he was elderly, like on the third floor of the hospital, and they went in to check on him, you know, and here he is hooked up with an IV unit, and he's dancing, and the nurses and the doctors are going, "What the hell are you doing?" And he said, "I needed to thank Mother Earth for passing the kidney stones and everything." And they were like, "But you're on the third floor," and he goes, "Mother Earth can hear me sing and feel me dance, even if I'm on the third floor." So he knew his intent was well. He knew he had to stand beside the bed and do a little dance and sing, and and give a little ceremony, give honor and thanks to the universe. You know. So anyway, now if part of our path may include that we have a special place that we pick to go do whatever we're going to do. So I got to say that over the years, I have places here on the property. There's a place down here in the back that has been sacred for a long time. And many people have seen some visions back there, both on hallucinogenics and or not on hallucinogenics. It's just some, and there's a bunch of spirits that roam around. Where the circle is, I talked about this, I don't know, about 8 months ago. Where the circle is almost exactly halfway between two cemeteries, one down the road this way and one across the river this way. And I did a survey looking over the top of the property from Google, and I measured it looking down from one cemetery and then from the other one, and they were like within 15 feet. And depending on where on the property, so my place is halfway between two cemeteries. And there's also a lot of evidence of a Native American chief or somebody important is buried at the top, on the top of the hill, because they found all those arrowheads and things in one spot right on our property line with my neighbor over here. So somebody important is buried up there, along with between two cemeteries. So there's a lot of strange energy going on. There was a man that his wife killed him, blew him away. Of course, he was beating the crap out of her and broke her jaw in like 14 places. She was messed up. And but she shot him dead up there on the hill where the tornadoes wiped out their barn twice. Yeah, interesting. She killed him with a 12 gauge. So there's an angry spirit that's still roaming around down here, you know, that he was, woo, he was and there's some other evil, wicked, mean, and nasty people who used to live down the road. So, but I know who those people were before they died. And if their energy or whatever, I'm like, oh no, I was going to hurt you while you were alive. You think I'm going to tolerate your nappy ass now? But the thing is the main thing is you don't instigate them. Okay. So I was fiddling around with these books, and in the quest for knowledge, right? In the quest for, okay, so I think for me, and as a shaman, it is important that there are times when you need to pull out your medicine blanket. Now, it could be a towel, it could be a beach towel, it could be a blanket. It doesn't have to be big, but this is your sacred spot. And no matter where you are, it's your sacred spot. And so there are discussions in here from the spirit medicine book about the use of candles, especially one single white candle. Um, And because it represents the Great Spirit, you know, the light of the Great Spirit, basically, creator. Y'all hold that thought for just a minute and talk amongst yourselves. I need to turn the fan. It's still kind of warm around here, and I just need to get up and move over there for a minute. Hold on, what you got there? Oh man, I tell you what. Hold on, what you got? And I'm going to get more coffee while I'm here. Duggar, say hi to everybody. Hold what you got, folks. I'll be right with you. I'm still here. I'm going to get coffee. Let's hang on to what you got. So, thank you all. To Bob and to all y'all, here's some coffee, and I'd share donuts. I got some Fig Newton cookies down here. But in seeking things, and I gotta say that there are times when I've been to prayer meetings, churches, and I've talked about it before about singing old hymnals. And when I was with the theater group, I was also worked with some choral groups and sang in the choir and did some things, played a little music with some guitars and stuff. But anyway, so but when you get, 3 or 4 or 5 people together that are singing a song or a whole chorus, but when there are 5 or 6 people with 3 or 4 part harmony and you hit them notes and it comes out just right, and there's something special in that moment. And, and I can still remember some of the people that I've sang with and played with and so forth. And many of them are gone now. But Mr. Paul, he was um, a, 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 a student from Juilliard and also had taught there and then moved back down to Thomasville in his retirement years. And here was this wonderful old man that loved Monty Python. But to everybody else, he was just this and he played in churches and for everything. And he played piano and organ and could teach other instruments and so forth. But he told me one time we were at a private rehearsal for a show we were doing. And he goes, David, he goes, I give you a note. And he goes, you hit it every time. He said, there are very few people that have the talent of being able to hear the note and go there. And he goes, there are a lot of people that said I should have went to Broadway, but I realized that, and I'm not trying to brag, I'm actually trying to be humble about this. Some of these really rich people, one guy was actually going to sponsor me to go to New York and audition for a show. He was a Marine and was on Iwo Jima, and he was about 6'6", a big, tall giant of a man, and gentle. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful person! But anyway, these folks have moved on. But in that, you realize that there are talents that you have, but there are places that you have them. In other words, that a church or a hall or something like that, like there's a place over here behind me on the stairs that has an echo that's just right. When I'm cleaning stuff up and I'm gonna rearrange some things, and when it gets winter time, I can sit in front of the stove, which means I'm just gonna turn where I'm at around. But also, it's a really good place to play music sitting there on the stairs. So, anyway, going to have a hootenanny one night, one of these days. Um, but the idea of having that special spot. So, as a shaman, now this relates to, some Muslims and other folks who have prayer blankets and, or a yoga mat, you know. So there's something about it. It makes you feel comfortable when you roll it out. This is my yoga mat. And I'm not being, uh, it may sound like I'm being a little sarcastic, but I'm not. This is my yoga mat. This is my blanket. This is my space. And I've done this with animals. So when I take Duggar somewhere in the car, he's over here looking out the window. He's probably going to bark in a minute. But he has a blanket that goes with him and a toy. But the blanket, no matter where we go, he's got his scent on that blanket. He knows it's his, and he's safe. If it's sitting out in the parking lot or down here on the floor, it's Duggar's blanket. Okay, so there are a lot of levels of understanding about the magic carpet, the magic blanket, if you will. So it's basically a place where you can just sit. You can do it inside. You can have it outside in the garage. You could have it outside in the garden, or you could just take it with you to the park, and it will mean the same thing, just in a different setting. So it's like a Catholic in Boston versus a Catholic in Tampa. There's still Catholics. It's just a location. So, but in that, the prayer blanket is a good place to start because it's your comfort zone. Now, to me, when I was using my blanket all the time, it felt magical at times. When I was on that blanket, had blessed it, had consecrated the four corners, laid out my crystals, and they're not always the same each time because depending on your location and what you're doing, you might use different crystals for different corners of the blanket. So, but in that, it also, for those folks, it gives you a reference point as this is my sacred spot. Wherever it is, this is my sacred spot. So when you think of the greater universe and that we're a part of it, it doesn't matter where the blanket is in reality, in this higher realm of thinking. So the blanket can help you to transcend and go to this. When I'm on the blanket, I can meditate. When I'm on the blanket, I can do this. You say, well, wait a minute. Well, it's sort of like the placebo effect. And also, it's your comfort zone. So, but anyway, I'm not trying to convince you to use a blanket, but if you are seriously trying to meditate, then these folks have been doing it for thousands of years. And it's, quote, the ceremony. Now, there's some things in here that actually have certain things and you follow a procedure. There's nothing wrong with the procedure, which is the ceremony. It's the act of lighting the candle, using cornmeal, for example. And so, anyway, so when I was thumbing through here, which was one reason why I was a few minutes late, the ceremony of the sacred quest for the spirit self, right here on page 42. And I was like, what? Now, I didn't know it was in this book before I did the title. Who's out there? Truth in me, not picking on Jelaine, just asking and trying to be multi-dimensional. What? I can hardly see small letters. Yeah, me too. I'm not half blind, but some of this stuff, and it depends on the day. And I've been taking my glasses off and trying to read without them. And people say, well, why don't you take the little tag off of your glasses. Well, that's because it has what strength it is. So I try to use the least powerful because I was like, well, I can barely read that. So I'd get a more stronger pair of glasses. It actually makes your eyes weaker. So I started going backwards. Well, if the print is just too dadgum small, or sometimes it's not that it's small, but it's not a very bold type, it's a light type. So it's like some of that is like a little hard to read, you know. So, but anyway, ceremony of the sacred quest for the spirit self. Now, the quest for the quest, you know, I'm looking at this going, you know, sort of sacred. I picked up the book after I put the title in. Anyway, so tools, cornmeal, spirit journal, and a pen. It's just a pad of paper, no, or actually a journal. I don't have one with me, but you know, they're a buck at the dollar store. Um, your medicine blanket and other sacred tools of your choice, sage or sweetgrass. So it's like, ooh, this is a really difficult ceremony. So that means you can take a couple of your favorite crystals, but the cornmeal and your journal is so you can write down right away the things that happen that you might forget later on. And sometimes taking a journal, you can be meditating, but if you allow yourself to do automatic writing, then I've written some stuff and went back and read it when I come back out of the meditation and go, where the heck did that come from? Holy mackerel. Some of it was like really more on target, and but other stuff was just so bizarre that it was like, oh, I never would have thought of that. I mean, just it was so bizarre. It brought me into a higher realm of thinking. I never thought of that in that context. Blah blah blah. Anyway, so automatic writing when you're, you know, in doing meditation. So you're going to be on your comfort zone and um, with your blanket. Now it says, build a circle of cornmeal, smudge the circle and yourself, and enter the circle from the east. Now, there are many other cultures who enter from different areas, usually from the north, rarely from the south, and I don't know of anybody that comes in from the west, because east is where the sun rises, and you go in. And when you go into a circle, one of the things that some folks don't understand is, out of respect, you go in backwards. You bow and enter the circle backwards to show your respect. And it's also, as you come in backwards, you're facing outside of the circle. You finish blessing the circle as you enter. So otherwise you'd have to turn around. It's like closing the door, if you will. It's an imaginary door, but if you close it and lock it behind you, so if you back into the circle, that shows respect and being humble to the universe. And then, but then you close the door, if you will, as you enter the circle. Now, this don't have to be a big circle, okay? It can be you in a blanket, all right? And it don't have to be a big blanket, all right? So maybe 6 feet in diameter. The cornmeal is important because it represents a corn, maize, so cornmeal, it's just easier. If you've got crushed corn or cracked corn, that'll work too, but a little cornmeal in the circle around you. And it's not necessarily as a spell, but it's in reverence to Mother Earth and to the universe, saying, thank you. Here's our sacrifice, if you will. It's cornmeal. It's an offering to the spirits. So you enter in this sacred zone of cornmeal. Ooh, that's a heavy duty one, right? But if you sage the cornmeal, and if you say prayers over the cornmeal, if you take the cornmeal ahead of time and bless it with a crystal or let it sit out, So you can prepare the cornmeal. It's not just cornmeal anymore. Now there is a sacredness to the cornmeal. But so it's more of an offering, and it's also setting up your parameter. Now, why is this important? If you're really going out there to really want to connect, this ceremony can help you because it's your shield. Okay. So you're out there traveling around and meditating. You don't want stuff coming in to get you, right? So by doing this, it's an offering, it's saying thank you and honoring the universe and Mother Earth, etc. But it's also a sacred place for you to be where things can't get in or shouldn't get in. A lot more protection than none, okay, than just sitting in the chair out under a tree. So now, should you do this? It's entirely up to you. All right. But I've meditated in lots of ways over the years. And I realized that if I really need something, the blanket and the candle, and obviously the sage and some rocks, right? But and one of the things that I have forgotten, which is a good thing that I see this, I've got some cornmeal, and sometimes flour will work, but they don't. It's not necessarily, but any kind of a grain. If you got some rye or something like that, that would. But sweetgrass and cornmeal is the basic. Okay, so you build a circle, smudge the circle and yourself, and enter from the east. Lay down your medicine blanket and sit or lie upon it. Get comfortable and center yourself and relax. Number one, understanding self, understanding spirit. In your spirit journal, make a list of everything that is you. As many things as you can list. Include statements about yourself in a physical way. For example, you are tall or short or fat or skinny. You are bald or have hair or etc. Male, female, or other, I guess. But anyway, this will help you understand self. It is important that you put good things and bad things, things you do right and things you do wrong. It is important to see all sides of yourself. Next, in your spirit journal, make a list of things that you are, ways that you see yourself, and ways you wish to live. Example, you are a liar, you are a truth teller, you are spiritual, you're a wind walker, you are dead, you're a writer, you are alive, you're an earth walker. Brainstorm your mind and ask yourself to fill in the blanks. List everything about yourself. Now, I want to include in this, this isn't a test. And leave one whole page and just write a thing down, write a thing down. Skip a page because you might need to go back. So good things over here. And you think, I've really got this creepy bad habit. I'm going to write it over here, because you may go back to the good page or the bad page and add things. So I would suggest you leave a lot of space, because every time you go into a ceremony, you're going to take your journal with you. If you are pursuing this correctly as a shaman would. Now, back in the day, shamans didn't really have ways to write down, but they did have ways with skins and so forth that they would draw pictures. And so it might be that in their vision, they had a vision of something, and they would scratch it with charcoal or something, and then literally go paint it on the side of a teepee, literally. So next, make listing in your spirit journal about understanding your spirit. List everything that you can about your spirit, the color, the way it feels, how you hear your spirit, what it longs for, what does my spirit want, what does it feel like it needs. List all the ways that you are in your spirit. And if you're not in your spirit, write that down. Why do I maybe I should feel like this, or that's expecting what it is to feel like. For example, are you a mean spirited or good spirited, high spirited or low, free spirited or contained? Are you absent of knowledge about your spirit? So you don't know which way you're headed. Well, most of us can say, well, we're not really bad. Now we may stray off the path and get mad or do something, or but basically those of us around here are pretty much no, you got to really push a button now before I'll even think a bad thought. So if you are absent of knowledge about yourself or spirit, this is the beginning of your quest for your sacred self, your spirit self. You can open a door into the world, the spirit world, through journeying. To have a better understanding of your spirit self, breathe and look for the path. Follow it to the tranquility center. Find a place to sit down and ask your spirit to appear. Look in your memory, but you can't. Let's see. If you look too hard, you're going to miss it. So what you want to do is like scanning the headlines, and you can stop and read the article anytime. But if you keep reading only articles about that one topic, then you've lost the rest of the big picture. You understand? So, bombing in Beirut. Okay, so you read this article, and then you go read what RT said, and then you go watch a video, and then you go watch this one, and you do that one, and you do. Okay. Have you learned anything really new, or is it that you're still pursuing the same thing? Go on to the next subject, basically. Doesn't mean ignore it. It just means, okay, you've seen enough. Next. But you're doing that in your memory. So look at your spirit picture that is happening in the upper world. So that's with your mind. How do you feel with your eyes closed? How do you feel with the candle lit? How do you feel with does the spirit blanket do you any good? And each time you sit down to do these, because this is not just a single journey, this is something you're going to do specifically for the quest of your spirit self. So every time you meditate, if you want to learn about the spirit self, you go do this. You can sit down anywhere and meditate for 5 minutes at work. Not the same thing. This is for specifically questing for the spirit self. Okay, making that perfectly clear. Probably too hard, but anyway. I can see out of the corner of my eye. Ooh, who's here? Barry, how are you? Oh, Operation Thank David, living in as a targeted individual and have directed energy weapons, speaking to own mind and yet overcome to live and love my wife. And yes, victory, absolutely. And blessings there to you, Open Barry. How are you? G Ant, hi. Oh, how are you? Yep, you arrived precisely and you were meant to. Hey, Amanda B, blessings to you too. Blessings to all of you. Yes. So now every time you sit down and light a candle or whatever is a mini ceremony. So in your ceremony, now you should always just thank you, Creator. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, Father Sky. Thank you, Sister Moon. Thank you to the universe and all the creatures, great and small. And thank you. I honor and wish good upon you. Okay. You're not praying to a God. You're just saying thank you to the universe. And of all the shamans that I've met, that is a really big deal. It ain't just, well, thank you guys. And now, no, teach me. The more, how do I put this? The more you understand when you say thank you and you give honor to the universe, I give honor to the trees if I'm outside. I give honor to the ground. I give honor to So the more you, even saying it out loud, the more you honor it and feel it, rather than just I honor the universe and Mother Earth and move on. So now I've been at this for quite a few years, so I can I can use 2 minutes of honor and it would mean an hour because I've had previous honor. So when I go through this, I'm drawing upon where I spent an hour honoring everything I could think of: trees, ants, bugs. I mean, and then if I couldn't think of anything that I hadn't already mentioned, I would just sit there and meditate and just allow. And then something would come, the platypus, even though I've never seen one, the koala bear, even though I've only seen pictures. You know, the sharks in the ocean, the fish in the sea. Well, the sea bass. Then I started naming individual, crabs and mollusks and things, and I was like, holy crap. But in that of the honoring of things, in that hour or so of meditation, I don't know, it could have been longer, but I'm just going to say roughly an hour of just listing things in my head. And then it became a journey, and with eyes closed and the candle lit, and just sitting and I would speak them out loud. I honor to the crustaceans, honor to the fiddler crabs, honor to the blue crab, honor to the king crab, honor to the, did I miss a crab? Honor to the um, um, oh, mud bugs and the crawdads. And then I started thinking, well, what else? And then I went on to clams and and so, but the thing was, is though it made it, and it was fun too, but it made me think on so many different levels of how much stuff. And I know I didn't even get close to naming everything right, but just in my memory. So I was like, there's so much stuff here. I was outside earlier today, and there's a hole in the ground, and this wasp is coming out of it, and it saw me and went back down, and then came back up, and I leaned back a little ways, and once it was there, and next it's gone. But they can pop out of these holes and go into the. But anyway, so I'm like, there's a. And if I hadn't just stopped to look down in this tiny little area of the yard right out there by the truck, there's this critter coming out of the ground, a wasp, and they eat bugs and things, and they don't bite. They're sort of like a mud dauber, and they're interesting when they flap their wings and everything, black and about yay long, depending, and interesting critters, let me tell you. But so when we stop and we go through this process, so when we're looking at self, by honoring all these things and naming things and the honor, and then I started, honor to Saturn and to the universe and to the quasars and to the, now scientists, physicists say that black holes don't exist. Well, they're wrong. But anyway, the black holes are not what they think, but they haven't learned that part of physics yet. But anyway, so in this, to stay on track with this, the sacred quest for the spirit self. So every time you do this, to follow in the same pattern, to use the same. Now, you might use a different crystal because, for example, smoky quartz is something that will help you unlock different areas of thought, where a milky quartz or a clear quartz will give you different things. And you should absolutely talk to your crystals before you do this and make sure that they are tuned to you. And one of the simplest ways to tune a crystal, and let me give you this, if you have not done this or you do other things, if you want a crystal tuned to you, hang on a minute, let me get one. Now, I have this little basket that came out of a dishwasher. I don't use a dishwasher, and they lie about how much water it takes to wash dishes. Anybody that's using 4 gallons every 2 minutes has got some serious water pressure, but they're also using way too much water. Put a plug in the damn sink and rinse them, and anyway. But so um, here, here's a sort of a double-ended crystal right here. It's not very pretty. Hi, Aurora. How are you? G Ant? I love it, man. Amethyst. This is a sort of a smoky quartz over on this side. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, just not clear. A cloudy quartz versus a clear quartz. Now there's a lot of this one here. I don't think you can see. Actually you can. Right there, you see those little ridges on there, side marks. Those are, and oh, there's a bunch of them on this side. Let's see. This whole side is got like slash marks in it. Now, depending on which book you read, man, I hadn't noticed that these things have got slash marks all around it. Sometimes they're just like, but it looks like somebody. And I dug I dug these out of North Georgia, some of these myself. But anyway, so you cleanse it good. And I suggest sea salt. Any salt will do. Himalayan salt, regular salt. There's the properties of the silica in the salt will help to draw out the negative energy that may be in there. So, but when you take it out, don't let anybody else handle it, okay? I mean, and don't just put it out somewhere. If you're going to use it for a specific thing, then you want to tune it, okay? So what you do is after you saged it, washed it, cleared it, okay? Hold it in your hands and just look at it with your intent. I wish to put peace and honor and love into this crystal, and simply blow on it real slow. You can do that a couple of times, but that's your energy, that's your voice, that's your air, that's your molecules going into that crystal, and it ain't nobody else's. So the first one, you can breathe law of threes. First time you breathe on it is just to say, I love you, thank you, I wish peace and honor to the crystal and the critters that live there, and the dimensions, because each one of these little blocks in here and some of these crystals can absolutely represent a different realm in the universe. So to fixate or study on a particular spot in the crystal can also open up certain things. So you ask the crystal, talk to this crystal, and say, may I use you for this ceremony? And with your intent, I wish to learn more to find my spirit. Will you help me with my spirit guide? Will you help me with my quest? And then blow again back into the crystal. So, and regardless of the crystal, now you might just add one that, or maybe you're wearing one or something, and it kind of gets brought into it. Now, if you use the same crystal every time and you've done this and no one else has touched the crystal, then you can re-emphasize the crystal every time you do the ceremony, but it's not necessarily necessary. Once you've blessed it, if you will, it's there, and it doesn't necessarily leave, because it's your energy that you put there. The vibration is there. So although it might not be, bouncing off the wall, there's still a residual. It's you're singing to the crystal, okay? So you put that energy in there, and you have to do it with clear intent and all that good stuff, Otherwise, the crystals will reflect things that may not even belong to you. Okay, let me just put it that way. So, because the crystals, a little crystal can be just as powerful in some ways as this giant crystal I've got sitting down here on the floor. I was looking for. I had another. This is a small strip of amethyst. It's not real purple, but it is, and it's much more in its native rock. And I find that not just, this has been broken off from the native rock. Okay. I find that when the crystals are still attached, there's magic in the rest of the rock. Okay. It there are folks, for example, who play guitar stringed instruments, and they will tell you don't ever cut the strings on your guitar strings. If you wound them up and you tighten everything's in tune, some folks will cut the end of the strings off. You don't do that. It messes with the tune of the string. You wind the string around, but you don't cut them off. It messes with, and for a long time I couldn't figure out why my strings never seemed to be in tune, even when I used a tuner. And an old timer said, "You quit cutting the strings off." And I was like, "What? Quit cutting the strings off?" And I was like, but no, there's a mathematical thing and the winding and all that. And you go cutting it off, and I thought it was BS, but no. I mean, I don't cut the strings off. It makes a difference. And however, whatever it is, I thought it, but the old timers are like, "No, just listen to it, boy. Can't you tell?" And I'm like, actually I can. Brand new strings sound flat. Why is that? You cut the strings off. You cut them too short or whatever. But anyway, I can't find the crystal I was looking for. I wanted to show you. I've moved things around, but anyway, I'm also, the reason it's in this bag or this little carrying basket is because I can take it to the river and literally, or the lake or whatever, and plop it down in the water and give them all a good wash, or take them outside into the rain, which I should have done the other day and let it get rained on. But that's crystal care and that kind of thing. But anyway, so if we're on the quest for our spirit, all right, this isn't about anything else. It's not about Johnny and his homework or where. It's not about where you fit in the universe per se. Oh, what is my life being fulfilled? Well, those are the questions you're going to ask while you're in that meditation. Okay. So what do you expect of life? Well, write it down. What do you wish to gain? What do you want to gain out of this? And after a while, you can look back down and go, well, you know what? 6 months ago, I thought that was important. I had a good conversation with a friend of mine last night. He called up Duggar's, his other daddy. And I was talking with Mr. Kenneth, and I says, he said, he said, I realized he's been retired for just a little over a year, like a year and a month or something. And he goes, he said, I've suddenly realized that what me and Mama, he calls it his wife, Mama. He said, well, what me and Mama, consider important, we just, all of a sudden, I just don't see how that it's not important anymore. And it goes, not that I don't care. He goes, this is not important. He goes, and I warned him, I said, it'll take you about 6 months to a year, but then you're going to realize that there are just things that you thought you needed all the time. So he's had this also a little bit of a spiritual journey in that it's like, well, damn, so he called me up to say, you were right about that, about that, how his feelings would change after time, and how what he thought he needed and what he actually needs. And, because being retired and things change. So you have to get used to that reality. And when you do, you go, well, I don't really need that anymore. and I don't really need that. And I thought I needed this and blah. So, but anyway, so, and, but he was like, he said, I was just standing out here, grilling out. And he goes, my mind was wandering. I was thinking about you. I said, and some of the stuff that's happened in this last year. And he said, you were right about a lot of that. And that not specifically, but that he would change his mind and he would feel differently. And, just basic stuff, kind of like some of the stuff we talk on here. And, there's been some stuff. He goes, now, Dave, you said, I love you. And I know, he said, but when you were talking about UFOs and spirits and stuff, he goes, I just kind of kept my mouth shut and went, okay. He goes, but I've seen some stuff outside when looking at the stars. And he goes, I don't know what they are, but they're not helicopters or airplanes. So we've all seen our share of things that, if you go outside and observe at night and you see a zigzag kind of light going around, you go, that ain't an airplane. Or when it twinkles a particular way and then it gets really bright and then dims and then bright and then just disappears, you go, and I think the one that's off the coast, I hope, well, actually, I would hope not, but I think it's a bad guy's spaceship because of the way it's shaped and twinkles. So, not really happy about that, but, and doing some checking and observations with other videos and so forth. And I'm observing not the good guys. So, I'm not going to wish to see him anymore. You know what I'm saying? I will look out the window, and if they're there, I will observe them, but I ain't going to ask those guys to come around. But anyway, so back to the quest for the spirit. All of this matters in the long run because it's all levels of you. So you good things, bad things. So now you've got your spirit journal. So the biggest thing for the let me get back down here to this. To have a better understanding of your spirit self, breathe, do the in through the nose and out through the mouth thing. Calm yourself, be comfortable. If you lay down if you want to. This is not like I got to sit cross-legged. Nope. This is you're going to be comfortable. Now you might want to lay on your side or whatever because it's kind of hard to write when you're laying down. Follow it. So you breathe and look for the path. So in your mind's eye, is it leading you down? Sometimes I see, down here in the South, we have some roads that are canopied. There's old oak trees that go across the road. Well, anyway, sometimes I'll just see a country road somewhere with trees on either side and nothing, anything distinct or, it's kind of obscure, but it just looks like it's just an old dirt road, maybe late in the evening or early in the morning. But anyway, so, and I see this, and that's where my mind will go. So I don't know what the path is or where it is, but I can just sense it that I'm standing on the road. And since I got my eyes closed, it's dark-ish. But then so you look for the path. Follow it to the tranquility center. Find a place to sit down in your mind. Ask your spirit to appear. Look in your memory. Look at your spirit picture that is happening in the upper world. Listen to the reflected self and understand the spirit voice for yourself. Know that all thought is spirit. Think about it. All thought is spirit. Get a clear picture of spirit. Then you can formulate your actions. Know and record these actions as a list of the reflected self. This will be seen as a clear picture of your spirit self, which will act as a guide for yourself coming from the upper world. It is pure spirit thought. Write down what you see. Example: I see myself. I see myself with a white wolf. I have a wolf paw. I have a hand. I have a white wolf fur. I have a long white tail. My teeth are long. My face is human on one side. My wolf self is on the other. That's this particular Native American who had this vision. You will see your spirit self. What color is it? What does it sound like? What does it look like? Bring your spirit self memories back and record them in your spirit journal. Number 2, understanding your spirit emotions. Understand that when you are in the spirit world, there is no time. There is no day, no months, there is no season, no light nor dark, unless that is what is for you. It can be sunny and raining at the same time. There are no limitations within the spirit emotions. Emotions. Follow your path to your tranquility center. In other words, as you go in and you sit down. So first you want to work on understanding the spirit. So the examples and the list and everything. Now we're moving on to number 2, understanding your spirit emotions. So there are no limits within the spirit emotions. Follow your path to your tranquility center, meaning you're calm, you're whatever, and find a place where you can sit and feel the spirit emotions. Feel what it is to be able to fly, the feeling of being free. Feel what it is to be connected and full. Feel what it is to be original, to be ancient. Feed the memory of all, the emotion of constant. Remember these feelings and journal them. Come back and write more feelings about spirit emotions. So this is not a one-shot deal, okay? Number 3, understanding the need to connect spirit to the physical. Now, we could say, to wait a minute now, isn't because I'm walking and talking and having this conversation, isn't my spirit sort of my reality and thingy? If my spirit wasn't here, wouldn't I be dead? So, but we want to connect the spirit with the physical. So in a way, we already are, but are we aware of it? Wait a minute. Do you stop and think about how many times your heart is beating? Now, when I go into meditation, I listen to my heart with my breathing. I slow my beats per minute thingy down, and it's not hard to do. So if your heart says boom, ba-doom, 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 I know folks that they've got their pulse. Thank you very much. Is 85, 90, 110. I was like, it was 68, 70, 75, and some folks were saying, my God, you're dead. And I was like, no, but having a high heart rate all the time, so if mine's at 68 beats per minute and somebody else is at 90, for every minute theirs is beating 30 more, 25 more times than mine is. Now, whose heart's theoretically, mechanically speaking, which one's going to go first? So I choose to slow down the heart rate. Not that you can't get it up. That's not my point. And sometimes it's a little too low. I'm getting old with some of this, but to the point though. So with that though, I realized the importance of having a high rate, paddling and getting the heart rate up and doing this. And I used to run, but I can't do that anymore. So, but pumping iron with the kayak and 2 or 3 hours of paddling, especially the way I paddle at times, that really gets your heart rate up. And so it's like, I understand the need for both, but to just be all day long, my pulse is 110, screw that. That's twice as high as it really needs to be. It's working twice as hard. Think about it. Anyway, so is that a secret to long life? I kind of think it is in a way. So understand the need to connect the spirit to physical. Take the list that you have written about self and spirit self and draw a connection to how you gain from your spirit in your physical day. Example, your spirit is strong and solid and rich and full. Bring that back to your physical self and see yourself as strong and solid and rich and full. And write an affirmation. I am strong, I am solid, I am rich, I am full, I am complete, I am rich, solid, and full. Now, rich don't mean monetarily, the richness of life and of the universe, which can bring you wealth, but we're not asking for wealth in this, okay? And we're not thanking the creator for the richness because it has nothing to do with money. Anyway, so build affirmations from your spirit knowing. Example, I am blue and blue is truth. In other words, if you saw yourself in whatever. Okay, so understanding, seeking the voice of spirit. Number 4, learn to listen to your spirit voice. I've been talking about that for a while. Get to know your spirit guide. You gotta, and nobody else. Don't go out there channeling other people. If your spirit guide meets somebody else and there's a message, they'll translate it. You'll know the difference. But stay with yours, okay? Don't go looking for anybody else or allowing any other entity to come into your space. No, that is a big no, don't do it. Feel the softness. Feel the warmth. Feel the gentleness, the completion, the original. Feel the totality of the spirit voice. See the colors. See all colors within. Now, I don't see colors sometimes in my other side. And then sometimes there are certain colors that are so bright, I only see the color and nothing else. So anyway, so I'm just reading this and I'm thinking to myself, but this isn't true for me. Now, I've had brain damage, but what if you're colorblind? Would you know what orange looks like? You say, ooh, I watched this orange sunset. Now, a friend of mine, we talked about it one time, and I said, so you say that, so when you watch the sun go down and somebody says, ooh, isn't that a pretty orange? You just kind of look at it and go, yeah, okay. So what he does is his shades of gray, their color orange was a shade of gray to him. And he got pretty good. He fooled a lot of people that he was colorblind for a while. Then I found out, I was like, dude, man, you got to ask somebody. If somebody says, go get the red one, and there's another one over there that's orange, and it's a reddish orange, he couldn't tell the difference. And when you're dealing with high toxic chemicals, you want to get the right one. So anyway, so see the color, see all colors within. If you don't see colors, don't worry about it. Just allow it to happen. Sometimes, if you've ever looked into a kaleidoscope, that's what if I need to see colors, I think kaleidoscope. Oh, okay. If I need to see color. But it's up to the spirit and where you're going headed or whatever it is that your journey is, it will show itself. So to say, well, I should be seeing colors, maybe not. Maybe this episode of The Real McCoys is in black and white. I actually don't know if they made a color version of The Real McCoys. I love Grandpappy Amos and the girls and the boys and the family known as The Real McCoys. Anyway, Walter Brennan was great. He was in quite a few old Westerns, too, back in the day. So to understand seeking the voice of your spirit, you must begin to listen beyond your physical needs. Now, we all talked about that for a while. You got to think in a higher, deeper level and allow it to happen. And one of the things that I continue to warn you all about is if you're expecting something, you might lose it. What you need to see will be shown to you. So there are times, well, I need an answer about this, and something else will come blowing in out of the side and go, here, look at this. Yeah, but I wanted to know about, not today. Look over here. And sometimes in this look over here was the message for, was, kind of woven into it was actually what I needed. But to expect it in the spiritual realm, well, I should be seeing colors. Not necessarily. Well, I should be seeing this. Ask your spirit, what do you want? What color? Is that red or blue or green? And do you want me to see colors? And they might go, no. But tomorrow there might be a rainbow of colors. So everybody's different. Don't get hung up on what somebody else's vision is. It's your quest, your spirit that you're connected with. And if mine ain't in color all the time, that's my spirit. It doesn't mean that I live in darkness. No, but it seems to me that I've come to accept more than not is that I'm after that trip down the river a few years ago. I'm a part of me is still kind of walking in the other world. It's not walking in. It's walking in both worlds, in a way. It's been interesting. I haven't spoke about that much, but in reality, in talking about this though, and to be perfectly honest, there are times when I feel like I am in both worlds at the same time, and don't know what to think about it. You know what I mean? So here's an example. Don't be so concerned about how much money you'll make, but how your heart will expand. I just sort of said that. Don't be so concerned about how others feel about you, but what your memory will be of yourself. Don't be so concerned about what you'll leave to your children when you die, but what will you be to your children always? Interesting. Journal your feelings from the 4 steps and see the value of questing for your spirit self. Understand your spirit, the spirit emotions connecting to your spirit, to your physical, and guiding your physical with the voice of your spirit. Let the voice of your spirit set you forth on a quest for a quest. And I didn't read this before I did this, so that's the interesting part about this whole thing, right? They give me a topic and then send me for a book or whatever. So this traveled through your soul into your physical mind, where it manifests as actual thoughts. From there on, those thoughts exist. At this point, you have an understanding of the voice of your spirit. Let me read that last part. From the voice of your spirit, you have an understanding. This voice travels through your soul into your physical mind. So while you're out there somewhere walking, you bring it back to the physical, to a memory, where it manifests as actual thoughts. From there on, those thoughts exist. And if you write them down, then you can recall those memories by flipping through your stuff. At this point, you have an understanding of the voice of your spirit. Just saying. So now every day is um, um, every day is a learning experience. And now I think I had this little conversation about a test. If we continue to use certain words, then for example, test, well, everything is a test, everything, then we expect our life to be a test when actually life's just going to be life, you know. And sometimes there are tests, if you will, especially if you're looking for lessons, right? But if we put our mind in the mindset that it's only a test, it's all a test, then what the hell fun is life? Anyway, here's a little tidbit about your medicine blanket, just to kind of keep this. Your medicine blanket is used to bring your physical connection to the spirit. It provides safety and protection through comfort within its array of colors and texture. It is recommended that it be handmade of any cloth of 100% cotton or wool. To care for the blanket, honor it every full moon by rubbing in the seven sacred disciplines, which are earth, water, ashes, sage, tobacco, sweet grass, and cedar. I'm going to have to get some cedar out. Your medicine blanket is to be used in ceremonial work as is a shield of safety. Now, I knew this before, but I'm reading this out of the book now. You can also use it to make a study bundle in which you can carry your drum, rattle, notebook, and things like that to class. You can use it at home on your bed or take it with you at all times. Even when you're traveling, put it around your shoulders in the car, train, or on a plane, or going to the hospital. So a medicine blanket is many things. And but there are some people who say, well, I don't see much use in it. It's just a blanket, it's just a thing. And it's like, okay. But if and that, which is kind of curious, if we remember Linus and with Peanuts, right? Um, him and his blanket, his security blanket. But you could use it to thwack things. If you got cold, you can sit on it. So, but if you honor the medicine blanket and you carry it with you, then you carry that spirit with you all the time. You understand that you have it. So it's this awareness that keeps you connected to the spirit, if you will. Remember I was talking about how monks, they meditate through the day. And years ago, I didn't see how that was possible. And now I see, oh, it really is possible and doable. But so the idea of like meditating for 2 minutes at the top of each hour, for example, as a reminder to keep that energy. So if you carry your medicine blanket, depending on where you're going, um, then it's there. So it's the awareness of the medicine blanket which keeps you in touch with the thought. It binds you with the spirit through the mental and the physical, and so you see your blanket. What do you think of? That's my medicine blanket. Boom! You're connected to the universe. You're still connected. You know what I mean? Anyway, so there was a thing in here. Let me see what y'all are up to. Lady Spitfire, it smells like mud. Mossy Heart, I just ignore them now. Y'all talking about something. Right, Hawkeye, like you told me, just relax and don't seek them out. Let them come to me. Yes. Speaking of peanuts, has any tried the chocolate paydays candy bar? Oh man, when I had teeth, paydays were like I used to have. We ate so many paydays. They had a special. We sent off and got T-shirts. Yeah. Um, my animal guides just show up. I don't go looking for them. Yep. All you have to do is, and Teresa, you probably already know this, but as you learn, and it may not be your animal totem. You might. I saw two turtles getting it on in my garden one day, and I was like, of all the places I could have walked, there's two turtles getting it on, and I was like, well, I'm not going to stay and watch. That's have your privacy there. But I was like, of all the places around my eyes, literally almost stumble on these two turtles doing it. And so I don't remember what it was at the time, but I just remember, see, wait a minute. And then for 2 or 3 days, I kept finding two turtles doing it over there, back over here, and down in the woods. And I don't know if it was the same two, but they were sure getting around. But it was the idea of the turtles. And I saw them in like two of them times three. So I don't, you know, it's been a while, over a year now but to the point, it was like, but, you know, I have a slight connection to turtle, but not like hawk and otter, you know, and beaver or owl. For me, those are my four main totems. But so, but you see other animals and you have to stop and go, well, wait a minute. So that's a message, and that's a message, and this is a message. So anyway, the soul doll. This book discusses making a soul doll. Okay. Here's the thing. You got to make sure that nobody else or anything can get a hold of something like this. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read much about this, but you can create a soul doll. Now, I say that with being very careful, because not everybody should do that. You have to reach a certain point. If somebody's just learning how to do this, and I go, I'm going to go make a soul doll. Hang on, back up. Making a dream catcher. Now, that's different. Before you make a soul doll, make a dream catcher. Start with something small, a small bag. I'm looking for a particular thing, and trying to let spirit. Here's a subject which seems to be, they want me to stop on. Teachings of Spirit, Growth Medicine, the lesson of faith. An innocent coyote isn't always what it looks like. A coyote is what it is. The innocence is there until it's tainted, or it's returned once it's lost by starting anew. This is the process of growth, an ongoing cycle of letting go and bringing forth. We come from the star people, as star people, to this earth to be two-legged human beings. We are given a beginning of innocence, but as we roll along like a rock in the river, we pick up our story. We're smooth or jagged depending upon what we interact with. To value our lives, value. To value our lives, we must understand that growth is a natural cycle. A seed brings forth a blade of grass and then withers and becomes a seed again. Often in our lives, we keep things that hold them. We stop the process of flow. We build a wrong, for we have created a dam that blocks energy. Oh, yeah. Lessons of faith are tests of fire. Push yourself to the limit and then push a little harder, and then push even harder the next time. Many times we expect more of ourselves than we are capable of giving, and our expectations end in death. Human experience is a very precious thing. as we are all things Great Spirit, great grandmother, grandfather have created. In life, it is said that there is evil. Everyone must blame something. The easiest thing to blame is the unknown. The fact is, choice is the thing to blame. You can be lulled into a bad choice by your faith or belief. All is created by Great Spirit, a creator. And as with anything that isn't the way you would wish it to be, it can be changed with choice. Some could say manifest. You just make a different choice. If you don't understand this, you make that choice a negative one. To store and to store innocence as faith. Faith in yourself to begin anew leads to the cycle of growth. So we have to understand that you don't see nirvana every time you meditate. Every time you have the the levels, as many times as I've looked up into the stars, there are times when I just get lifted right up into the cosmos, as I've discussed, and other people have had those similar things, and eyes open, eyes closed, meditating, not meditating, but it's the allowing yourself to be protected, feel safe, have faith, and allow it to happen. So we have these magnanimous things that happen to us. Um, so we can't push them. Now, there is pushing yourself to become more quiet or more observant or more, something. That's the pushing of self. If you've got an addiction to something, but you won't face it, you know, then how can you find out who you truly are if you won't face something that you have written down in your book that you don't really like about yourself? I was 250 pounds. That was unacceptable. I've lost 75 pounds. I'm much better. And it's just people say, well, I'm just big bone. Fine. And there are people who are big bone, don't get me wrong, but they use that as an excuse. And I'm going, okay. I know some big bone people who lost 75 pounds because they were pushing 300, and boy, do they look different. Big boned, yes, but they still lost a lot of weight and were healthier at the end of it. Um, there's the ceremony of movement. I'm looking for one. It's about. Let me read. I keep coming on this dream catcher. The dream catcher is a small hoop made of wood. A twig from a tree can be used. Its purpose is to capture negative thoughts or dreams. It may be hung in a window or by the bed, on a lodgepole, or on a dance stick. To make a dream catcher, you need one piece of fresh green tree branch, small in size. The larger the branch, the bigger the hoop of your dream catcher. Then bend the branch into a circle, and with it a piece of colored cotton string that is about 50 inches long. After wrapping the ends of the branch together, and then it talks about how you tie the things to it. So um, there is the process of the lesson of unity, the spirit doll. Dance of the deer, walk the path, building a sacred circle. Um, all right, let me discuss this for a moment. Building a sacred circle. Prepare the ground by cleansing the area. Build a sacred circle by sprinkling cornmeal starting from the east and moving clockwise. So, clockwise from the east, Depends on which way you're looking. So clockwise would mean that you would go to the left. So you would go south, then west, and then north, and back to east. Um, but if you were standing on the inside of the circle and went clockwise, you'd be going backwards. So you have to understand which side of the circle you're on. Are you on the outside of the circle, which you should be? So you would start in the east and then go south, you go clockwise, okay? Because if you're on the inside and go around, then you're doing it counterclockwise, and that could give you the opposite of what you achieved. Now, there are some tribes that go clockwise, and there are some as to, hey, okay, sometimes counterclockwise is what you need in the ceremony that you require. Like maybe an undoing of something. So you want to get rid of something, and you go counterclockwise and get rid of the negative energy. Anyway, before entering the circle, do a smudging ceremony. Light sweetgrass and sage, and move the smoke around your body. Take it into your heart through your breath. Feel the earth and the presence of the four-legged, the winged ones, the finned creatures, the crawlies, and all such relations. Now, you hear me talk about your relatives and all of your relations, past, present, and to come in my prayer. Relations is everything. Ants, bugs, worms, I mean, everything. Periodically cleanse your center by your circle by smudging, moving the smoke into the sweet grass mixture around the grounds and blessing the ground through a prayer. Feed the sacred circle the feed the sacred circle grounds by giving away to the four-legged, the winged ones, and all the other relations using tobacco, cornmeal, and seeds. Give away to your wheel so that all that come to it give away to you. This is the sacred circle. So now the sacred circle is something that you could do, you could have it set out there all the time, or it's something that you do when you go out to just do a small ceremony. So, and just let the earth and the rain and the chipmunks or whatever, squirrels, come and, take the medicine wheel naturally. I'm still looking for this thing about the altar. Man, I just went through this. It's hiding from me, I swear. Well, dadgum. It was about how to do an altar, and it had about candles and stuff, and I thought it was um, important. The lesson of patience. Oh my goodness gracious! How many times have we talked about that? Spirit doll. Maybe I didn't go far enough this way. Now, I'm not too much on altars per se, but you can have a shelf or a windowsill that becomes a, uh, you got a couple of crystals, you got a little bit of this, you got a little bit of that, and that could be, quote, your altar. Dang. I swear to goodness, it's not here. A spirit stick is the lesson of sincere. It's truth medicine. So understand what your spirit looks like, smudge, and sit in a sacred circle. Before you is a familiar path. Follow it to a quiet clearing. There you will see a pond. When you look into the pond, you will see your spirit. This is spirit scrying into water, if you will. Remember what it looks like, what color it is, what animals may be involved in what shapes. Each stick you find, this is for finding your spirit stick. Each stick you find will have its own spirit. Search for the stick that has a similarity to your spirit. The stick can be tall, thick, big, small, anything that reflects your spirit. Remember, I've talked about finding that walking stick at the powwow that time. I had a dream of it, and it was and went right to it. It was there, and how the whole thing worked. But the idea, though, that we have to listen to our internal self and have faith. By golly, I'm going to go back through this one more time because it had good information about um, clarity. I swear it was right here near the spirit dome. Learning and studying patience is done in a sacred circle built with cornmeal. Honor and give thanks for the earth, for the sky, and for yourself, for grandmother, grandfather, and for the teachers who bring lessons into the process. So, by honoring the teachers, you can ask them to help give you lessons. Then step into the circle um, with one white candle, which represents the will of Great Spirit. It is to give light so that you are never alone when going through the process. The candle could also be a small campfire if you're outside. So, the idea of a campfire in the middle of a sacred circle is the candle, if you will. So, um, I cannot find that thing about the altar, but it was more about the candles. Anyway, so on the altar was water, rocks, sage, earth, like just a little cup of dirt to honor each of the things. And I was like, I had never thought about, I've got the rocks and the this and the that, but to literally have just a little thing of dirt, or clay or whatever, as a to honor Mother Earth. So it's like, now that's just interesting in and of itself. I can't find it. Okay, all right. So there was something in the Tai Chi book. Um, I don't know yet. Let's see. Slightly slanted, or your windshield after driving at night. The birds have been disappearing since 2015. Actually, slightly slanted. Yeah, SSS. They've increased down here this year. I mean, I have been bitching and complaining where are all the birds, and this year there's been more birds down here than I've seen in a while. And I haven't seen a blue jay in ages. There are certain types of birds you just don't see anymore. But anyway, um, but I can't say that that is true all around. This moving over to the chi, the Tai Chi um, Chuan and Meditation. I'll show you the book here in a second again. Um, anyway, here's the Tai Chi book. It's backwards to me, but the Tao Te Ching is concerned fundamentally with meditation, but its ideas also relate to the principles of a different type. If you try to read this chapter literally, it seems illogical. In other words, can you keep the spirit and the body without scattering? What? Can you concentrate your mind to use breath, making it soft and quiet as an infant's, and you're breathing? Can you purify your contemplation and keep it from turbulence? What? Can you purify your contemplations? Now, okay, so you're trying to relax and you got all these thoughts going through your head. Remember what I said? You got to let them go. If you try to stop them, but can you purify your contemplation and keep it from turbulence? In other words, you've got all these thoughts in your head, so you control them by letting them play out. You can sit back and, hum a little tune and, or do you let those thoughts that you're trying to meditate and relax from turn into turbulence? Interesting, eh? Now, this is the Tai Chi. So I have switched religions, switched, you know, um, on the other side of the planet. Okay. So here, folks, from a totally different point of view with the same kind of sort of knowledge. Can you love the people and rule the state by non-action? What? Well, this happened to be, those folks who are, but to the point though, can you love the people and rule the state by non-action? So if you're a leader, but you lead by no action, think about that. The gate of heaven opens and closes. Can you be like the female? Can you become enlightened and penetrate everywhere without knowledge? Can you keep the spirit and the body without scattering? This is the fundamental idea of the Taoist meditation. The Taoists believe the body and mind should be united to achieve longevity and immortality. Can you concentrate your mind to use breath, making it soft and quiet as an infant's? The breath here is not just ordinary breath. First, it must become inner energy. That the respiration of ordinary people is from their throat. And further, that the true men of old breathed from their heels. And if you've ever been in a choir singing, you always do it from your diaphragm. It's always down in your belly. And, throat singing and chanting, and you can't just do it in your throat. And that's so very, very, very true. And when you move the energy down deeper into your solar plexus, down deep, it also changes the tone and the quality of your voice. It changes the timbre, if you will. Infancy is the state in which the body is soft and pliant, and the mind quiet and innocent. The image of the infant further refers to the holy fetus, which matures in meditation to emerge as the spirit infant. This is also a fundamental principle of the Tai Chi Chuan. Can you purify your contemplation and keep it free from turbulence? When one meditates, millions of thoughts sprout, which should be avoided. This turbulence must be cleaned, like the mirror that must be completely wiped free from dust in order to reflect properly. So, some of the things that I've been talking about now, I have read Tai Chi and I've read these other books, and I've had some of these for years. So, my quest for the quest, this is my quest. Sitting and opening this book at times and just reading a passage or two and looking at something and going, now, I can contemplate on that idea of controlling the contemplation, the crazy thoughts in your head. That's a lifelong thing, you never stop doing it. I had something else marked and I moved my marker. So the idea of breath, and there are different ways of looking at the body and how you breathe. And let me say this much about that. Years ago, when I was first learning about the breathing technique, and I learned it from a physical therapist after I got my leg broken because I was all hyper and everything. It was like, Dave, you just got to calm down. My leg, my leg, my leg. But when you see it fly past your helmet and land back up on your back, it's a traumatic experience. But with that, though, so to relax, though, if you're lying down and you want to learn how to float, you start at your toes and you imagine all the energy, and a good massage therapist will start at your feet and work up, or your hands and go to your shoulder. If you go to someone who starts to massage you and they start at your shoulder and go down to your hand, that is absolutely back assward. You may feel better, but it's not the best for you, because what in meditation, in massage therapy, correct? And this is from Edgar Cayce, and it makes sense. And I've seen some massage therapists, and they don't all do it the same way. So the good blood is pushed down through our arteries and then comes back to the heart through the veins. Okay. So I've cut a few veins in my time, and they pump blood out, spurt, 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 and artery just floods, right? So in a good massage, but also in your mental massage, you are taking all the negative energy that may be down in your toes, your feet, or whatever. And if it's a physical massage, then you would start with the fingers or the hands, and you push the energy and the blood out from the end of your fingers up to the hand. So that what you're doing is you're taking and pushing out the old, and you're allowing the new blood to come into your fingertip or whatever. And so you push it out, and the new's got to take it in, right? It's like a sponge. So when you're meditating and when you're trying to learn how to float psychically, spiritually, you want to do that same visualization. All of the blood and all of the old energy is coming out of my toes and up my leg, and just consider yourself. And so what I would do is, rub my leg. Don't ever rub your leg down to your toes. Okay. Always from your toes up. You want to get the old blood out. Varicose veins, rub them towards your heart. Okay. I'm doing it all the time. I can't believe I have varicose veins, but I'm not walking in near as active as I used to be. Still working on it. I'm not dead yet. But the idea, though, that pull it out of us and send it up to our heart. From our hands, we want to start at the fingertips and let it come up. So you can physically do this and rub before you lay down, and you can get the sensation. Remember that sensation. So when you lay down, you can feel, that what it feels like to have the energy rubbed up your leg by your own hands. And so you know what your hands feel like, you know what to feel, you know what the touch is, etc. So it's good for the mind, it's good for the body. And while you're doing this, you're doing the breathing. In for 4, hold for 1 or 2, just to give yourself a chance. And don't hold more than, there are some breathing exercises I've seen that they hold for 6. And, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's too long. Anything more than 4, I think, is adequate. All you're doing is breathing in as far as you can, and you're just allowing that air to circulate before you push it out. So you want to let it sink in, and then you exhale. So about 4, to the count of 4 that you hold it in. And after a while, you won't have to really count. You'll feel the cadence come within your body. So as you're doing your medicine blanket, as you're doing your sacred circle, and you're writing down and to learn your quest for the spirit self, you're doing Chinese meditation. I do, and bring it in, because native shamans don't really go into this meditative, do this, that kind of thing. Now, certain shamans will, but I'm not so sure. I don't want to make a false statement here. So I'm checking with my higher self, if you will. Let me take a coffee break. Hi, everybody. God, it's been 2. I've been at this 2 hours. Why didn't somebody holler at me? Okay, I'm going to pick a card or two and wrap this up. You can use drumming. You can use bells. You can use whatever it is. You use a candle when you can to represent, and it only needs to be a single candle. A decent candle, not something small that drips all the time, get something that's a little bigger and will sit there and not blow out or, catch fire. I'm going to find that thing about whatever the altar was. It may have been in that other book. Anyway, cards. So I've kind of been using the book, if you will, for, let me flip through this and let's have this discussion, right? About patience for the soul. And, so these are ideas, these are ways that folks have been using for thousands of years. And it isn't so much about the ceremony itself. It is. And the ceremony is nothing more than honoring the universe, having faith in yourself, and asking and being in a comfortable spot. That's what the medicine blanket is. So some might say that, well, I don't know, it seems like a whole lot of stuff. Well, if you go to any kind of Catholic, Presbyterian, Episcopal church, you guys are partaking in some really strange stuff too, but that's acceptable. So don't worry about whatever somebody else is saying or doing or whatever. Okay, y'all thinking of a card? I put that out there earlier. Y'all thinking of a card? Okay, they're telling me I'm shuffling them over here on the table right here. About 2 piles. Do a little side shuffling. Not that I really needed to do that, because I'm going to choose by feel what the what cards need to be pulled. Now I'm sitting here doing this and shuffling and moving the cards, and if I pull the same card again, y'all don't say, "Well, he had that one sitting there," and he, because I pulled the butterfly and I pulled okay, here we go with the butterfly again. But if repeating messages, they must mean that they want us to, to listen up. So, hey, Aurora, I don't know if I said hello. Teresa, slightly. Okay. I can't believe y'all still here after 2 hours. Thank you. This must mean something to you. So I'm happy to provide the service. All right. Let me see where there's a card at in here. So I'm doing this thing, and wait, there's one over here that just, all I did was just put the rest of the deck down because something, and I split the deck again, and there's something in this pile here. So actually, these top two cards seem to be what they want me to pull. Now I flipped them, and they could have been right set up, but Porcupine, which is our family crest, and Spider. Now, so they were both upside down, but I had them in my hand and then flipped them that way. So I could have turned them sideways, but you know me, I want to read the other one. I got a third card somewhere that needs to be pulled, and no, it ain't in this pile. So I'm feeling from the bottom of my fingers here, it's one of these. It ain't them. It's one of these three. Oop. Okay, they wanted this one. It's the whale again. Holy crap. Let me see what these other two are. You ain't gonna believe this. Ant and Hawk are showing up again. Of all the other cards, Ant and Hawk. So I was holding these three cards, but whale was the one that wanted to come out. But Ant and Hawk have both showed up again. Interesting. So, yeah, nothing else in the rest of these cards felt right. But the first two that were pulled, and I have not pulled Porcupine in a long time, but that is supposed to be the Null family crest as a porcupine, which is interesting. Don't mess with this, but if you get too close and you want to be, a pain in the butt, we'll stick your ass. We're mild-mannered little, sorry about this, but we're mild-mannered up to a point, but you give us a hassle, we're going to stick your ass. We don't go looking for a problem, but we'll fight you if we need to. All right, so now I got the book. Thank you all. Thank you, Bob. How's the connection been so far? 8th one down. Porcupine is number 12, so that would count up to be a 3, and I went almost exactly to the page. Porcupine, innocence. I just mentioned innocence from the other book talking about the innocence of the spirit, and we must become a child. Here it shows up as innocence. Porcupine, remind me of innocence once again. With every man a brother and each woman a friend. The south of the medicine wheel is the place of childlike innocence and humility. It is the home of playfulness and the position of Porcupine on the medicine wheel of life. Porcupine has many special qualities and a very powerful medicine. The power of faith, and trust. What did I do earlier? Was talking about faith, was talking about these two things. See, now the cards don't lie, right? I do them after the fact. The power of faith contains within it the ability to move mountains. The power of trust in life involves trusting that the Great Spirit has a divine plan. Your task is to find the pathway that is most beneficial for you and that uses your greatest talents to further that plan. Trust can open doorways to the creation of space. That's interesting. The space thus created allows others to open their hearts to you and to share their gifts of love, joy, and companionship. If you were to observe porcupine, you would immediately notice its quills. These quills are only used when trust has been broken. Between porcupine and other creatures. Much like otter, what did I say about one of my spirit guide was otter. So otter is a gentle, loving creature and non-aggressive. When fear is not present, it is possible to feed a porcupine by hand and never get stuck by its quills. Through understanding the basic nature of this animal, you may come to understand your own need for trust and faith. I keep telling y'all, trust in yourself and have faith. For becoming like a child again, there is the child, the innocence. In today's society, this is a needed reminder to honor the wonder of life and the appreciation of each new day as an adventure of discovery. Porcupine sat quietly, looking at a hollow log. She wondered if it was a playhouse that nature had created just for her. Porcupine envisioned all the things she could do with the log. She could climb on top and make the log roll from side to side. She could go inside and see if there were any juicy worms for her to eat. She could also scratch her back on the rough outer bark if she wanted to. Just as Porcupine was pondering what to do next, she saw a bear approaching. Bear was big and black and looking for honey. Oh, another playmate to share my log, she thought. Hello, Bear, she cooed. Do you want to play and share my log with me? Gruff old Bear snorted. Porcupine, don't you know that I'm too old to play? You're in my way, Porcupine. I'm looking for honey, so go away. Why, Bear, you're never too old to play, she replied. If you forget what it was like to be a cub, you'll always be as impatient and gruff as you are now. The value of life, having a little playfulness, we need to find that important. Bear began to think about what Porcupine had said. Maybe she was right. All the other creatures had run away from Bear in fright. Even the other bears had turned up their noses when he growled at them. This little porcupine was certainly trusting him not to eat her. She even offered to be his friend. The old bear looked at Porcupine and began to feel something move inside him. He started to remember the games he had played as a cub. Little Porcupine, you have reminded me that in becoming strong and seeking answers, I got caught up in trying to be an intellectual. I became afraid of what others would think if I dropped my mask of gruffness. I was afraid they wouldn't take me seriously anymore. Mask of gruffness? Mask? Interesting. You have taught me that in being a fuddy-duddy, I was causing others not to care for me. Thank you. I'd love to play with this old log. And so it was that Bear became childlike again and learned the innocence of Porcupine. In choosing the Porcupine card, you have giving yourself a gentle reminder not to get caught up in the chaos of the adult world where fear, greed, and suffering are commonplace. The medicine in this card is that of relief from seriousness and severity. Open your heart to those things that give you joy as a child. Remember the preciousness of fantasy and imagination and the making of some game or toy from nothing but scraps. Honor the playfulness of spirit that lets everyone win. Um, the other day, I did a video about value. We have to give things and do things to give us personal value, which allows us to be of value to other people. Now, the contrary, and it was upside down, but I think it's the way I just pulled them. But anyway, in pulling the porcupine card you were reversed, you are giving yourself a timely warning that you cannot win the game of life if you are too serious. Now, I've been discussing that in that, we can go down a rabbit hole and it's okay. But if we keep going down that rabbit hole and keep going and going and going and going, all you see is that one rabbit hole. You have lost touch with the rest of the world. So, and we become too serious. In some other area of your life, you may be feeling hurt or afraid of trusting again. There are a lot of us like that, right? As far as the chaos in the world and a mask and not a mask and who's on what side, we got to gain some trust. It is possible that life has recently dealt you a hard blow. To all of us, right? If this is so, it is time to begin again by placing faith in your ability to overcome the lesson with joy. We were getting the joy card the other day from Hummingbird and Dragonfly, right? Bring joy in. Are you willing to trust yourself? If so, you might begin by writing down the feelings that come out of your situation. Now, this is a separate book, okay? But now they're saying write down some of the stuff. And that's part of your soul spirit quest for the soul self. The ill-dignified porcupine is belly up with his quills stuck in the ground. This is a rather defenseless position. You may be forcing yourself to be vulnerable so that you can regain your hope. Perhaps you needed to roll over to get your tummy patted. This position could therefore indicate that you are ready to accept a little love from others. In any case, if you are not willing to trust again, this card is forcing you to look at why or at why not. So why are we not trusting again, so forth? Okay. So I don't know if porcupine made any difference to you. Now, spider, we have discussed spider before, and it's interesting that spiders come back up. But weaving, spider, number 43, which is a 7. Spider, weaving webs of delight. Weave me a peaceful world, carrying creation in your web, waiting to be unfurled. Spider wove the web that brought humans the first pictures of the alphabet. Now, in reading about the souls, searching for the soul spirit and everything, here we are. We drew the spider card again, which is teaching us the alphabet. It's teaching us the old. And the other one that I pulled is whale, which whale has all of the history and in the songs. So what the cards are saying is backing up this idea that in order to gain the knowledge and the wisdom from the universe, we have to allow to think about how the spider and the web is concerned, and the whale song and the history that's, we can meditate on whale and what the whale song is. We could download or listen to some whale song and just close your eyes, with a candle lit and see where that takes you, and just ask whale, the spirit of whale, nothing else, just the spirit of whale. Show me what some of my history is. Don't ask to see what find out what your history is. Meaning, I don't want to know what your history is unless I need to, but I need to know what my history is. If I'm Pleiades or not, and I'm from that part of the universe, or some people are Altarian and this, that, and the other thing. But anyway, so a little bit more about Spider. Spider replied to Deer, "It is time for Earth's children to learn to make records of their progress in the Earth Walk." So, to learn about the spirit self with the quest, you start a journal. And in that journal, what are you doing? You're making marks. You're making letters through the weave, from the spider. Is it connected or not? You be the judge of that. I always get a little freaked out because it's like, man, these things are like, if I'd have looked at the cards, I couldn't have picked them better, right? So, but Earth's children are growing more complex, and their future generations will need to know more. So we write down our thoughts. Maybe we can pass them on to our children. Maybe someone else will read our thoughts, or maybe but it's most important for us. That's the value. Here we go with that word again. The ones to come won't remember how to read the petroglyphs. So it was that Spider wove the first primordial alphabet, that she had woven the dream of the world that had become manifest. Spider's dream of the physical world had come to fruition millions of years before. Spider's body is made up of the number 8. Spider weaves the web of fate for those who get caught in her web and become her dinner. Now, the contrary of this, which is what I pulled, Spider is akin to the negative side of woman. Spider will eat her mate if she gets too caught up in herself to see the validity of honoring male energy. The warrior at her side is strong, balancing force. If you have become disdainful of your mate, male or female, and have felt very superior recently, you are not honoring either your male or female side. So if you're walking around and puffing out your chest for whatever reason, you are not if you're not presently in a relationship, you may have chosen a member of your family or a workmate to harass. This type of negative criticism only breaks down relations and is a reflection of something you hate about yourself. And is a reflection of something you hate about yourself. If you are trying to feed your ego at this moment in this manner, you have lost the game. You are entangled in the web of your own illusion about who you really are. So, in searching for the quest for the spirit self, what are we looking at here? We have to make sure that we're not looking at some weird illusion. If this does not apply to your situation, take a look at another message that contrary spider medicine brings: lack of creativity. So if you fail to use your talents to get the web spinning, your lack of creativity can change into destructiveness. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. If you are feeling stagnant and unable to move in a positive direction, you may come to resent others who are doing well. This resentment will become a black widow spider and eat you up, and the only one to mourn your demise will be you. Get moving, find joy, there it is, and new ideas in the accomplishments of others, and use them to propel you into a new phase of creative spinning on your own web of delight. Observe Spider's web and find pleasure in the ideas you receive from her universal language. Now, it's 2.5 hours. Okay, I'm going to read a little bit about Whale. But whale is about all history. Whale has all the history. And wait, I went the wrong way. Last one was 43, which is a 7, and this one's 41, whale. Whale is the record keeper, number 41, or a 5. Whale of mighty oceans, you have seen it all. Secrets of the ages heard within your call. Teach me how to hear your words and how to understand the very roots of history of when our world began. Whale is very much like a swimming library. Whale carries the history of Mother Earth and is said to have been placed here by the ancients, Star Trek, from the dog star Sirius. Now, we're just coming out of the dog days, by the way, so here we are, dog days again. And whale, this is at least the second time whale has come up. Whale saw the events that led to the settling of Turtle Island, North America, and has kept the records and knowledge of the motherland alive. It is said that Mu will rise again when the fire comes from the sky and lands in another ocean on Mother Earth. The native medicine people are waiting for this event as the next sign of Earth changes. Earth's children will have to unite and honor all the ways and all races in order to survive. Now I'm reading that fire from the sky. Well, whether we actually got fire from the sky, that line about we need to be unified is absolutely true. Whale medicine teaches us that the sounds and frequency that balance our emotional bodies and heal our physical forms. To recall why the shaman's drum brings healing and peace is to align with whale's message. The drum is a universal heartbeat and aligns all beings heart to heart. Before the advent of speech in the primordial language, hand signs were used and many tribes were silent most of the time. The language that was understood was the sounds of great spirits, other creatures, the animals. If you pulled the whale card, you are being asked to tap into these records and to allow yourself to be sung to by those who have the original language. So we're talking about Soul Quest, etc. Tune into the whale if we pick this card. Now, contrary, it did come up upside down. If the whale has beached itself in your cards, the contrary medicine implies that you are not following your sonar or homing device. On some level, you have forgotten that you hold all the answers you need to survive, to grow, and to claim the power of your chosen destiny. Have you chosen a destiny yet? It may be that you are having to deal with a lot of chatter in your head and cannot get your personal records. If so, you may need to use other sounds to enter the silence. In other words, maybe a bell or a gong or a thing, or, the drum or rattle, the Indian flute, or the sounds of nature may help. The call of the whale is the lullaby of the tides. Rock yourself gently and float into the world of the sea. Flow with the waters of time and collect your answers. They are the only truth that will lead you to personal pathway of knowing. Contrary whale is saying that you must desire to know. You must seek the whale song within you, and hearing whales call, you will connect to the ancients on a cellular level. And then as you relax into the flow of the song's rhythm, you will begin to open your unique library of records. It may not come all at once, and you don't want it to. It may take practice and patience, but if you hold the desire to know, close to your heart, it will be the whale's gift to you. Look to the great star nation and send gratitude to Sirius for the song of whale. So, in my opinion, the cards that I pulled were directly related to the topic. And it seemed it were, to me, we are getting confirmation that the things we need in life is to keep joy and to keep this and to tune in for, you know, we don't, we each have our own Akashic record. And so, to me, out of all those cards, especially with the topic for this evening, the quest request, to have those cards pull up, you, um, okie dokie, like there you go. That's Hawkeye's 2 cents worth on that one. 2.5 hours, man, oh man. It seems like about an hour and 20 minutes to me from this side. I don't know how it feels to y'all, but it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours to me. I've been steady at it and haven't even taken a stop to look. I'm gonna light the cigarette and read some chat and see how y'all are doing. Yeah, I'm out of cigarettes. I was gonna go to the store and get some more, and I was like, nah, I got enough tobacco and I got enough. So this is one of my hand rolled tobacco cigarettes. It's not a joint, although they look just about like this when I'm done with them. Anyway, so with the soul journey, you know, first we have to desire it. Do we want to know? Do we want to learn? And do we want to go through certain steps in order to get there? Invaluable, if you ask me. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Truth in Me. Slightly slanted. We are all in the belly of learning our spirituality. Yeah, you're welcome, SSS. Michelle, how are you? I missed you earlier. Lady Spitfire, it's true. We shouldn't buy our own cars. They should be given to us, or vice versa. Um, Mine were gifted to me. But if somebody isn't going to need, I mean, here's the thing. If you're working in the garden and your neighbor says, hey, looks like you could use a shovel over there. And you go, yeah, all I got this hoe. Well, here, use this shovel of mine. Here, I got two. I'm going to give you one. And you go, thanks. Now I got a shovel. I was just using my hoe. Ho, ho, ho. But if you don't have one and there's nobody around to give it to you and you need a shovel, maybe you should just go get the shovel. So, but to the point though, if you need the tool and you are being led to that tool, then use it. Now, I must say that there are folks who say, oh, these cards are really great. I've seen some of those and they haven't really spoke to me. But these cards were gifted, and I found some other things. And some things I used to do rune readings, which is another thing. And they're upstairs along with my rune book. And I'm going to get the runes down one night too. And we'll do a rune reading. Okay. So the whole idea, though, of runes or cards or tarot. Now, I used to do tarot, and I don't anymore, because there were messages that could be tied in with the tarot that, for me, had a tendency, like the death card showing up and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, these cards, there's not really any death involved. You know what I'm saying? So there's not so much fortune telling as they are as fortune guides, you know? So, and there's enough in there. Well, if you get this card, you better get your act together. So, and if you don't do this, if you don't get out of this, you could die. So but it's not a hangman's noose, with a skeleton kind of thing. You know what I mean? It ain't death in a card. So now that's my personal view. And I've seen people use tarot cards to a very good benefit, so forth. But for me, I was like, nah, nah, So that's my own personal. But that's my reason for it. In doing these cards, though, it's all about finding a different way, finding a different path, even though it may be a struggle. So, good thing about hand roll, they go out quick. They won't just sit and burn. But anyway, so some of the things in my reflection, you like turtles? Yep. Tarot is the application of reality through cards. Yeah, but I've seen some people who got influenced by spirits through the cards. It was not it was not pretty. It was horrible. And but for me though, these cards though, there isn't that kind of thing in it. And like I said, my perspective, my point of view, uh, Teresa says I let a couple of folks read tarot for me. Yeah. I don't know about being sketchy so much, Teresa, is being maybe a little too pointed. And the other thing was with tarot, it also would implant something in my brain, it's like, oh, there's death and destruction coming. Really? Well, so then I get this thing, well, if death and destruction's coming, I get into this sort of fear mode, the fight or fright kind of, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Well, I don't need to know that. Let me get warnings from the animals through these cards. Because I went through a period of time when I wouldn't even touch my drum, okay? Because there were outside influences that I did not want to come through me and or the drum or anything else, and that pretty much pretty much gone away again. But there for a while, it was like I wouldn't touch anything because I didn't want my energy to taint uh, what my intent was, because I knew there were outside forces that were, playing around and being mean, bad, and nasty. So now, 2 hours ago, I talked about charging a crystal. If you're not in the best of moods or something like that, and you go to charge a crystal, don't stop. If you've had a rough day and you're not in, and there's a little bit of grumpiness in you, don't. You need a good night's rest or whatever. You need a little bit of relaxation. You need to be in the mood. If you're trying to charge a crystal and you ain't in that spot, you're going to charge that crystal with unnatural vibrations, if you will. So, don't go charging your crystals when your mind is, teetering over here. Just saying, that's a warning. But now, how do you gauge it? Let's discuss this for a few minutes as I'm sitting here visiting with y'all versus reading. How do we gauge it? So I gauge things by having the conversation, then picking the cards, and then later on going, "Some bitch, things was right on the money there," or at least they were at least backing up some of the other things that I was reading from different books. And so they were all related and co-related and that kind of thing. So, okay. Now, is it my influence? Well, I try to be the observer. So when I said, y'all pick some cards earlier on, half joking, not joking, but also from the energy of the universe, what do we need to solidify in this? So I'm not thinking, what card do I need to choose? They tell me, not that one, not that pile, put them over here, but there's a couple of cards right here. Let's see what these have to say. Oh, Hawk shows up again, to always be vigilant, to observe the whole picture. You know, the the topic for tonight that's kind of slipped in has been the innocence. So the playfulness of Porcupine, and innocence was brought up in from the other book, the innocence of self. So in the innocence of learning, to start over again, if we have a lot of preconceived ideas about what we think meditation should be, what nirvana should look like versus what it could look like versus what does it look like. So for each of us, is it colors that we see, or is it shades of gray? Not that it's bad. We may be colorblind in another realm. Who knows? It might be our lesson, that we learn how to perceive this shade of gray is actually a green, or that it just may be that that's just a lesson for now. Not a test, but a lesson, okay, which is different. After you have the lesson, then you get tested. But how do we perceive how we're doing? We look at the outside world and go, well, you know what? Tonight the cards spoke after the fact, backed up. So if you're getting messages about something, and to me it comes in threes, not always, but usually. So I'll see this or an article. There'll be a word in a commercial, and I go, wait a minute, I was just thinking about that. Or this will pop up, or that'll pop up. That's your answer. Oh, oh, okay. Whatever it is that you're working on. And it might be something you ain't working on, it's subconscious, but things will come up. Now, you see, for example, now there are people who go watch squirrel videos or kitty cat videos. But I don't normally do that. But if something came up and it was a squirrel, and then I noticed that squirrels were in the oak tree, and then I noticed that squirrels were then I would go look and go, what's squirrel about to teach me? And we pulled squirrel about 2 weeks ago, I think. So, and yeah, Teresa, I think you were the one that was talking about the squirrel. But to the point, though, so we find out whether or not we're making any progress. And it's not a football field. The goal is always moving, okay? And you say, well, am I ever going to get there? Yeah. But if you think that, you're just going to be able to get there right away, or, like, oh, we're all going to the sixth dimension and we're going to skip this and that. And no, we ain't. And we don't want to. We want to learn all that we can. We want to understand and to be able to feel the resonance of other dimensions and other vibrations and things. We need to learn these things. But the only way we can learn them is to become innocent again. If like for me, my brain was, for a long time, was all Catholics and Christian, and I couldn't think beyond that. And then I had to open my brain to, wait a minute. There are other methods, other thoughts, other things, different books, but what is the commonality of them? That's the spiritual. It ain't about I Ching. It's not about Taoism. It's not about Native Americans per se. It ain't about this or that or whatever. And magic. I spell it Mijik. Is how I spell earth magic. And the magic is nothing more than understanding the natural law of things. And for us, I mean, if Duggar can look at me sometimes and I know what he's thinking. And there are other times like, what the hell does he want? But to the point, at one time, all two-leggeds used to be able to converse with the four-leggeds and the winged beasts and all the critters. And then man started disrespecting the critters, and the critters got together and they said, no, we're not speaking to them anymore. They so we'll only speak to those who show us full honor. And I've had, you've heard me talk about the otter that came up right after I finished a ceremony that I could have reached out and patted him on the head, and the time that the same ceremony, but it was a 2 or 3 day. It was a 3 day event, and owl hooted like right over my head, like it jumped out of my skin. But I was using a medicine blanket, and I was using a candle, and I was using the simple things of um, of the natural world, if you will. I had my flute. I played a little music to give honor to the spirits. I played my drum in honor to the spirits and to Mother Earth and to the Father Sky. But the idea, though, that it's the honor of which you do things. So when you honor creation in the universe and then you ask it to show you, things come in a lot differently. Before I just asked, and things came, but they came all jumbled up, I guess. Now, because I've got better connections with my spirit guide and I understand these other levels more, the understanding of these things that come into me, I say it's more profound. I don't just hear them, I actually feel some of these things. I mean, like, whoa, that was interesting, rather than just a passing thought. So, but anyway, it's hard to quantify that. But one of the things that you can say is, because you hang out here and you understand that we are a soul tribe and we are members of the League of Like-Minded Beings at the same time, then you have already achieved a level of consciousness that a lot of other people may never reach. And they may not be seeking it, which is okay. It's their choice. They may not understand what you and I are talking about on a quantum level. They may not want to understand. They might want to just think about Jesus or Muhammad or Confucius or whoever. And but the universe is just so much bigger than that. And when we take ourselves out of the box and quit thinking that the box ever existed except to put, chow mein noodles in, or I'm thinking about Chinese food here for some reason. I've been wanting to go to the Chinese restaurant and get some, oh man. Anyway. So after 3 hours almost, I do have a butt cramp, and I'll feel sore after this one. Mary Wins, is that you? Hey, Mary. Isby, how are you? Good to see you. Always making up words to the songs I hear. Truth in Me. Yeah. Yeah, Truth in Me. There are a lot of times when I used to do the Weird Al Yankovic thing. Love you too, Isby. I was going to call you tonight, and I ended up doing this video instead. I haven't forgot you. I got your email. I was going through emails earlier. And but yeah, you still want to chat over the phone? I'm still open for that. But anyway, Lady Spitfire, Chloe don't like it. Nope, that's not what? Okay, I'll do that, Isby. It's so nice to be with me. All the things I do and say, hey, my affirmation. There you go. Yeah, I was making up words to a song I heard earlier today too. But I do the Weird Al Yankovic sometimes. But anyway, but see, it's the that's the creativity. You hear a song and make up your own words. So you're fulfilling some of the things that were brought up as a discussion. In that we need to be more creative, Spider. Maybe we're not being creative enough. Well, it doesn't mean we need to go out and build a pyramid. It could mean that we just make up words to a song we hear. or something like that. That's being creative. So allowing ourselves to be open to that and to, so there ain't nothing wrong with that, my friends. It is the allowing ourselves to be open to that. And does it give us joy? You know what I mean? And the value of bringing up this word value again. Yeah, they're really hammering this value thing with me about, the other discussion I discussed the other day. Um, and I'm probably pissed a couple people off about that, but I'm sorry, but the service to others thing, I ain't gonna go back into it, but um, we should look at it in a different way and say, wait, I wish to be of value. Mm, That to me, it encompasses more. But I digress, and I don't want to go back into that subject. I don't. And if I pissed you off, any of you off about that, I'm sorry. It is just my opinion. Um, and we all have that choice to make. So I love you anyway, despite there are some folks out there that still are trying to push Planet X and the flat Earth. And I'm just like, have we not gone down this long enough that there are still people who are, no, it's not round, it's flat. Okay. No, we don't have enough to argue about. Let's bring that back up again. And oh, here comes Planet X again. I got telescopes here. Still ain't seen it. So the hell with all that stuff. You know what I mean? But let's do what we need to keep our core value going, to keep our faith and our spirit going without being greedy and so egotistical that we just say to hell with everybody else. That's not what I mean. But to go around and say, well, um, my value is that I'm going to give all my value away to everybody. Nah, that ain't, no. We share, uh, um, we share. Yeah, that's it. We share. Let's see what y'all got, Lady Spitfire. I'm gonna get out of here. Flat Earthers, I gave up. Yeah. Nope, you never pissed me off. Thank you, Truth and Me. Um, it was somebody else I was thinking about, but to the point, not about being a slave. Yes, and any connotations that may be to that. Lady Spitfire, never leave your pizza burning. Nope, I'll never be your beast of burden. Okay, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Michelle, and everybody. And it is not that I want you folks to agree with me all the time. That ain't it. Just see another point of view, and there's so much other things to consider. So I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Um, love is the remedial, spread it like a virus. Truth says the intentions was not of that, but we all know words. Yep, there you go. It's the repeating of some things as a mantra. And I don't know. When I say greetings and blessings, um, blessings covers just this whole list of stuff, without having to go into any detail or creating anything. And I like the simplicity of what Jesus said. Peace be upon you, my brothers and sisters. And what better way to greet someone than peace be upon you? It's not to me, it's not, but to you. Peace be upon you, my brothers and sisters. And I think there's that entails a lot, that you can have faith and you don't have frustration and stress, that peace comes to you, not just warlike, but peace be upon you. Oh, wow. But anyway, so with that, I love you, my friends. I do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. At almost what, 2, 4, what crap, what time is it? 2:40 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. My friends, thank you so much. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will learn to accept, receive, and to share the wisdom, the knowledge, the healing, and the blessings from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will learn to accept, receive, share from all your friends and relatives, all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive and to share the knowledge and the healing from the universe. And it might be the fourth time, but anyway, I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relations will learn to accept, receive, and to share the wisdom, the knowledge, and the healing from the universe. And that you will continue to keep an eye on that chaos and reject those things that are just unnecessary. So, my friends, thank you so much. Ween, thank you, Bob, for it seemed like we were pretty solid there for the whole time. So, Mary Wins, thank you. Truth in Me, love to you. Barry, as always, good night, good morning, wherever you are. Michelle, thank you. Let's all have pizza one night, right? Teresa, amen, amen. I say to you, my brothers and sisters. Yep, on the chaos. There you go. Ween, everybody. So, thank you. TTFN from South Georgia. Please be safe. Please be kind. Please be considerate and keep yourself strong on the inside. Good night, everyone. Um, I'll miss you till I see you in chat again. Love you always. Thank you. Night all. TTFN and thank you, Bob. Party of days. Anytime. I got plenty of room. So we love you. Thank you. And until next time, please be safe. I mean it. Please be safe. Let's all continue to keep our prayers where we're at. We are making a difference. I swear we are, because it could be worse. So till next time, TTFN from South Georgia. Bye, y'all.